from homeless to being able to take 14 people in Puerto Rico. 2024, we set a goal that if we did 4.2 mil gross, I would take the company all expenses paid. January, we take 11 employees and 3 spouses down. All expenses paid. Rented this huge place. Private chef, super cool guy, just authentic Puerto Rican food, and taking employees down. Not even blink at the money. What is that? That's how I fill my cup.
Hey everybody, thank you for joining us for today's episode of Disruptors. Today we have Joe Theriault with IPS Cash, and Joe flew in from Nashua, New Hampshire, to talk about how he went from homeless to $1 million in the bank. Now guys, I'm on a mission to create 100 millionaires. The information on this show alone is enough to help you become a millionaire. If you take consistent action, you will become one. And guys, if you get value out of today's show, please hit that subscribe button. Please share this with your friends. That way we can all grow together and create more millionaires. You ready?
Yes, sir.
All right. So first question is, what was your life like right before you got into real estate?
That's a long question, right? Like, because I got into real estate when I was like 24.
Really?
And so
like a few years ago.
So a few years ago, right? It's funny, like 47 now. And then, so 24, I bought my first apartment. 22, I bought my first apartment building. And
22, you bought an apartment building.
I bought a 3-family.
Wow.
A big triplex in New Hampshire, right? Those old school, they take a big, huge house and they cut them up, right? And so he's 22, had a full-time job as a machinist, bought the apartment building. Like I read the Kiyosaki stuff before Kiyosaki was cool. I read back when home investors had a wholesaling class before wholesaling was cool 25 years ago. They came in a binder, okay? And you got the binder in the mail for like $500. So the plan was, like, I can remember being at the machine shop being like, I'm going to retire. You guys are going to keep working for a long time. So
25 years later.
Yeah, 25 years later. Now I'm working more than I ever did. And so the biggest thing was 22, got the building, did all the stuff, but I didn't have my stuff together personally, right? I was partying, having a good time, refied the building, took the money, basically lit it on fire, and instead of going and buying another building, right? And that was before, I would have been back in like 2000, 2002, so it was before the uptick of the 2006. Had a partner with that building, and I got sober at that time. And then basically I left that building, ended up in Germany, got married, ended up in Texas, and I can't remember the guy's name. Just took another course down there and got divorced or separated at that time, right? Left there with $500 to drive back up to New Hampshire from Texas, and with nothing, no job lined up, and drove around for 3 months till I finally found something. Lived in the car for another 2 months, and then I bought an RV tow behind trailer and lived up in Claremont, New Hampshire. And that's really where the story begins, like truly, of how I got to where I am.
So when you say you didn't have your stuff together, we're talking about like mindset, or you just were just a dumb kid?
Well, the volume knob for swearing has been, I'm trying to turn that down, right? So it's I'm trying to be mindful of that, right? And how much color I add to this, right? There was a lot, right? I smoked pot. I was drinking. I was more of like a binge drinker, right? Like, so I didn't fit the typical alcoholic under the bridge. I was a guy that got a fifth of Bacardi, and that's what I drank for the night, and smoked weed, and that's what I did, right? And was a pothead, right? And that just, to me, doesn't necessarily facilitate. That's not what I did to go from a zero to $1 million, right? That's not.
Well, that's how you went backwards.
That's how I went backwards, right?
Well, and it's hard for me to even imagine, because like I know you, this version of Joe. I can't imagine the pothead and a fifth of Bacardi for a night.
Oh, it's crazy. It's out of control. And the same, my wife says the same thing, right? Like, and she'll ask me, because she'll drink. It like doesn't bother me be around people drinking and whatnot. And she'll ask me, she'll be like, well, can't you just like, and I'm like, trust me, this is a bad situation. Like, you don't want to see me. And she never saw it, right? And she'll be like, every now and again, just like, well, can't you? And I'm like, no, no.
She's tempting you.
Yeah. Oh, 100%, right? Not and she just doesn't understand, doesn't see it, right?
Well, it's hard to appreciate if you haven't been around it.
100%, right?
Yeah.
If you were around it, you would have been like, that was the best thing you ever did, right?
Yeah.
And and I left that all behind. That was a tough thing, because I was like, I left the apartment behind, I left the building behind, I left the job behind.
You ever drive by the building anymore?
Yeah, I do. And my buddy still owns it, and it's still it's
Still
worth
glorious.
it's still worth a bunch of money, you know.
Yeah.
And they say, like, I look back and been like, I could have been a millionaire then. That was like before the market took off back in 2000. I could have been wherever now, right?
I mean, I look at I bought a couple of properties that were bad. That were bad buys.
Yeah.
Right. But the one good property, I sold it to cover the two bad buys. If I would just let those two bad ones go and just kept the good one, you look at it, it's like, man, like, they've been darn near paid off by now, because it's been that long.
Yeah.
And so anyway, that's just looking back. So took a course in Texas and then drove back, defeated, living out of a car. How did you go from, basically living without a home, homeless, to getting back on your feet?
Yeah. I think there's a lot of, in this industry, in life in general, there's a lot of easy shortcuts. Drink the Kool-Aid and everything will be fine.
Yeah.
I didn't come from that growing up. It was, you're going to work. And I had been a machinist. I was looking for a job. That's what I was doing. I wasn't looking to buy apartment buildings, or I wasn't trying to live the dream. My thing was, I had to get a job, get back to even, right? And I had child support to pay, and I still was taking care of them at the time. So the big piece was, so I found the job that was unstable as could be, but I had the job. It was a newer machine shop, and I was in, and they were making guns, and they needed a guy to make this new prototype gun. So there's this weird trajectory in my career of things, and so I got the job, and I just worked, and I saved up enough to buy a tow behind RV camper that I then put in a campground, and I stayed in that campground for a year. And I would have my fire at night and a can of beans, and life was pretty easy. Like, truly, like, it was really simple. But then my ex-wife was going to take my dog, and I was like, all right, stuff's got to change, because the dog's going to need a place to go. So I found a multi again.
You drew a line.
Found a multi, and it was in foreclosure, because that was right in the height of 2000, when the market crashed in 08.
09,
I started buying.
Okay.
And people at work were like, what are you doing? Like, are you insane? I'm like, you guys are insane for not buying, right? Bought it. FHA said, because it was an FHA loan, house in foreclosure, place was trashed. They're like, it's not going to pass appraisal. I had to paint the whole building before I owned it. People like, what are you doing? Are you crazy? I'm like, I live in an RV. Like, what are you talking about? I live in an RV, right? Like, there isn't a whole lot of debate here. So that's what started that. Was I bought that building, fixed it up, fixed up the apartments, rented out those 2 units, lived in a unit, worked a full-time job, refied it, bought another building, refied it, bought another building, opened the yoga studio, right? And that's what got me to, like, that spot where I, like, was okay, you know, and I was making good money for living up in North Country, New Hampshire.
So you were house hacking before house hacking was like a thing.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Right.
That's great. Because I remember like Robert Allen's book, Multiple Streams of Income.
Mm-hmm.
He talks about that in that book, right? So
Mhm.
this is before like Bigger Pockets.
Yeah.
And Robert Allen's talking about it in the books, right? I was like, that's a really cool idea, but I can't imagine myself living in a fourplex.
Yeah.
Maybe poor mentality.
Right.
But you were doing it.
Yeah.
And then you were refining out because are you taking advantage of an appreciating market then to do the refi to buy more, or were you actually forcing equity?
Forcing equity into the homes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 100%.
All
Because
right.
it hadn't moved yet, right?
Yeah.
So the market hadn't moved.
Mhm.
Didn't start moving until 14, 16, till
Yeah.
the market really started. So I was doing actual repairs.
Mhm.
Like I was out there swinging the hammer. I was putting the hardwood floors
Mhm.
in. Like I was the one doing that work. And I had guys helping me do stuff back then.
Right.
Guys that still work for me to this day.
So I have to ask before we move forward.
Yeah.
What kind of guns were you making?
Yeah. So I made the very first LCR 9,
Mhm.
which is a 38 special, aluminum frame gun. I had
Mhm.
never shot a gun before. I made the very first one and took that gun from concept to 300 a day,
Mhm.
which took about 2 years to do.
Right.
And those things that they don't talk about that carry over into today as who
Mhm.
I am as a person. If you would have looked back then and been like I think many times in real estate and people that want to be entrepreneurs, they don't really realize the life skills that they're getting doing whatever they're doing
Mhm.
translates
Yeah.
when you're actually ready. When you're ready as a person to take whatever step it is, you have life skills that are there, you know?
So I'm assuming you have one of the first 300 somewhere in your
I
house?
don't.
You
So
don't.
funny enough, I did not start getting guns till about 5 years ago.
Okay.
And that was 15 years ago. So I'd made all those guns, ARs. They started getting into all different types of gun parts because Ruger was known at the time they'd been making guns forever. So
Mhm.
they weren't on the edge of tech. And the company that I was working for was an aerospace company,
Mhm.
and they knew how to program stuff and they knew how to actually machine.
Mhm.
At that time, Ruger didn't have those capabilities, so they had us do this gun.
I see.
And then once we figured this out and they sold a ton, they're still selling a ton of those. Then they gave us a bunch of other contracts and it
Got
just kept going and going.
So you talk about the lessons you took from there. So what were the life lessons you took from building the first 300 of this particular prototype into your life or business?
Yeah. So there's so much there, right? Because it was going from making one gun a day or one gun to 300 guns a day. So it's the actual manufacturing process, right? Of knowing Kaizen and waste and all of the different, like all of that stuff that you wouldn't think that I actually know about.
Right.
But I have a pretty in-depth manufacturing background of and knowing how to manage people. That's one of the things that I always got promoted to, guy does good job. Well, you're a manager.
Yeah.
That's how it works in blue collar stuff, right?
So for those that are listening that are not familiar with the Kaizen principles, you want to elaborate on that real quick?
Yeah. So there's a bunch there, and I am rusty and gray. It's just remove waste, right?
Yeah.
So there was for an example of that, let's just say you had a machine to run, okay? And there's a line, and we got to take this block of metal that's going to start as a square block, and then we're going to transform it, and we're going to go through 9 machines to make that happen, right? Every movement that I take from the time that I push the cycle start button to then take the piece off of the first machine, take it out, close the door, put another piece on the machine, and hit the start button. Every second that I could get out of the process means we made more guns for the day, right? It was a constant race there. So any waste that I could remove. So basically, if you gotta spray with the machine with air before you load the new piece on. Okay, make sure that the chuck doesn't have any chips on it. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Precision manufacturing. So it's got to be medical, like clean, right? So you blow it off. So that means if the guy has to step one extra step to get his air wand, whatever, right? It adds a second to the process. And that's just in changing it. And now if I've done that 9 times on 9 different machines, just getting the air wand versus if I could have programmed the machine to blow the thing off in a controlled environment, I could have, so it's like I would go with a stopwatch and I would time everything and every step and just the moving of the material, never mind the actual 118 tools it took to get through the manufacturing process, right?
So just the air wand, 1 second, 9 times, 9 seconds, 300 guns, 2,700 seconds. We're talking like, I don't know what that is off the top of my head, like 15 minutes? I don't know. But good amount of time every single day.
Yes.
And that directly leads to, like you're saying, gun production.
Yes.
So, odd question here. How good is your speed to lead at the moment?
Yeah. Speed to lead is really good. Because Candy's on speed to lead.
Okay.
Not because I'm on speed to lead.
Yeah.
It's weird because I didn't have to worry about the people back then. It's a machine shop. 8:30, the buzzer goes off. You better be at your fucking machine running. Or next, there's someone in line, right? That's not how you manage in real estate, right?
No.
So
It'd be nice if you could.
it would be, dude. I would have the stopwatch, right? It would be awesome. They would be awesome. And so Candy's far more strategic with that, and every sales manager and those reps all know. So speed to lead we're really good on speed to lead.
Yeah.
We're running, I want to say 85 to 90%, generally speaking, is under a minute for a rate. Yeah.
That's really impressive. Okay. So you buy these first properties, you're forcing equity. How long until you quit machinist work to actually just be, full-time real estate again?
Yeah. And that's, my daughter's 18 now. It probably took me 8 years. I left about 10 years ago. So it took me about 8 years because I had those buildings. I had a yoga studio. I
missed that. Yoga studio.
Yeah.
You had a yoga studio.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was a yoga teacher.
You were a yoga teacher.
Yeah.
Man, so first the pothead, which I can't picture.
Yeah.
And then the yoga teacher.
Yeah. Sober yoga teacher, right?
Okay.
Not the hippy dippy. I was into the hippy dippy side, but I wasn't partaking in the greenery.
How long were you in the yoga?
I was in that community for a good few years. It's what got my head straight. It's what got me to be able to go through. My daughter lives in California. To be able to say to myself that I'm a good dad and not be in my daughter's life full time. Like my parents stayed together and growing up, right? So there was lots of trauma and baggage that I had that was like holding me back, that I was constantly, for those first few years back up in Claremont when I bought that building, I have like vivid memories that pop up of going out, flying, getting custody, flying out to California. Then they moved to Utah. So there's like a bunch of stuff that the yoga, because I was losing it. Like I wanted to go like drug stock looking pretty again. Like all of that stuff starts to creep up, right?
Yeah.
Real easy. And I know how easy it is. And I wanted to go out there. I wanted to move where my daughter was. And I knew that just wasn't the answer. It was not. My ex doesn't like me, right? So
Wouldn't be a good situation.
Not a good situation, right? So the yoga brought me to be able to be okay, right? No matter what, no matter how much I had, what I had, didn't have,
Mhm.
is what yoga brought for me.
Yeah.
And I was never a big like flexible yoga person. It just brought me the mental calm, and I learned no matter how bad things got, I was gonna be okay, and I could control myself. I could control my emotions. Um, was what yoga did for me.
Got it. And then, so you got the yoga. Did you do yoga like as a side hustle at the time while you're still working in the machine shop?
Yeah, I
Okay.
would leave during lunch and go teach a class, and I had a
Wow.
few teachers as well.
Wow. Okay.
There, yeah,
So it was a full business. This was not a side hustle. It was a full
yeah. I had
business.
a yoga studio, legit yoga studio.
Okay.
Yeah,
Wow. All right. When did you go full-time real estate?
that was 10 years ago.
Mhm.
So I met Candy, and she
Mhm.
lived 2 hours south.
Okay.
And let's see, hot wife in Nashua, or live up in New Hampshire in the mountains
Mhm.
with yoga studio, a bunch of men in a machine shop, and tenants, right? Tenants in a rural market, right? Like do the math,
Right.
right? Figure that math out, how
Mhm.
fun it is to deal with that. In a yoga studio where people appreciated me, but it wasn't giving me enough back.
Yeah.
So 10 years ago, when I met Candy, I had the opportunity to come down to Nashua,
Mhm.
and I had a coach at that time that was like, she had to get off the pot.
Mhm.
Isn't what she said to me necessarily, but I was kind of at that crossroads where you can only go so far as a machinist. You have to
Mhm.
go be an engineer or open a machine shop, right? Those are your next paths. I already knew more than most typical engineers did
Yeah.
at that point. So I was like,
Right.
what's the point? So it was like, where do I where do I where do I go? What do I do? Like I've already built all like what ah, it was like this weird thing to jump off the precipice
Mhm.
again. And
Yeah.
and my coach was like, Joe, you she wasn't telling me to go, but the message I was receiving was, you got to go do it. It's
Mhm.
like, you're either going to stay here and stop the real estate dream,
Mhm.
right? Like
Or you're
stop.
plateaued.
Yeah,
You've
yeah,
gone
right.
as far as you can go
Yeah,
in a smaller market.
correct. Yeah, yeah, yeah. There we go. That's a good way to put it,
Mhm.
right? 10 years ago, I sold one of the buildings. I left my job. I had 30 grand basically to make it.
Mhm.
That's what I had, and I had to live and uh, hang bandit signs
Mhm.
and do some direct mail. And I
Yeah.
didn't know I didn't know. Steve, I am lucky, dude. I am not gonna pretend that I, knew what I was doing. It
Mhm.
was hustle and luck.
So your experience that you had in the early part of your real estate career didn't really help you so much start over in Nashua.
Not at all. Not at all. Because
Wow.
all I knew was to buy. I knew how to buy buildings,
Mhm.
right? And I knew how to do that, but I didn't have the money. I didn't have the W-2 job anymore,
Mhm.
right? So technically, the only thing I knew back then was the only way you can do real estate was to have a W-2 job, and you go to the bank and you burr. That's
Mhm.
the only thing I knew how to do, right?
Right.
Um, like I had heard of like in rehabbing. I
Mhm.
didn't know how to rehab, but I could clearly see that that was a way to buy a
Yeah.
house and fix it and
Yeah.
resell it. So I didn't know all the ins. I didn't know about wholesaling technically. I just
Mhm.
knew get the house for a price. That's
Yeah.
what I knew. So it really didn't. I don't know. There's probably some sway there,
Mhm.
but not as much as
Well,
because
let's
it's
talk about the start,
yeah,
right? So you start over.
yeah.
Bandit signs was the first thing you started with?
Bandit signs.
Okay, how was
Yeah,
that?
I was the bandit sign king.
You were?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thousands of bandit signs out, and not at first, obviously,
Mhm.
right? But I was doing bandit signs, man.
Mhm.
At what 37, 38. My wife's in her 40s, working a corporate job, making really good money, and
Yeah.
and she's got this boyfriend going out at 2 in the morning hanging in bandit signs, going, "Hey, you want to go out and hang bandit signs?"
Yeah.
And I'll take you to a diner.
Mhm.
We'll
Yeah.
go eat at like 2 in the morning, right?
Mhm.
It's like running joke that we still have between us, and just going and hanging bandit signs.
Mhm.
That's was my first thing.
How'd that go?
I got lucky again, man.
Mhm.
This lady, I was getting leads. I didn't know what I was doing. There's a few stories there of the first lead, the first house I ever went to. And I didn't know sales. I was a man. I was a machinist. Like I
Mhm.
could make anything. I could make your mic stand. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
whatever. First lead I ever went on. It was like right down the street from me. I go. They were like, "Well, we don't know you." Blah. I'm like, "I have a dog. I'll bring my dog. How bad could I be if I have a dog, right?"
Right.
And I go, and they were super nice. They were high as all get out, right?
Mhm.
And because she had MS, go on that first appointment, and I didn't even know what I was doing, but they were like, "Oh, your dog seems so friendly. You can let the dog go, right,
Mhm.
and let him roam around." Soon as I let him off, he goes and takes a hot shit right on their nice carpet. And this wasn't like a hoarder house that we walk into. Like, dude, this is my first appointment, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? And I'm just like, what, right? I'm like, oh my God. And uh, like I could still picture sitting there and just being like at a loss for words. And like thankfully they were like high and laughing to a certain degree, but like I made them some kind of offer, and then she made a joke about like take your dog and take your shitty dog out of here or something, right?
Mhm.
And that was like the first appointment. Then
You didn't get the contract?
they didn't get the contract.
Okay.
Uh that's just a funny story
Yeah. Well,
that
hey,
popped in my
look,
head with the
but,
thing.
your dog left its mark.
Yes,
All right.
yes, we did. We did, I missed that dog too. That's why I told that story. But the first one that changed the trajectory
Mm.
was this lady, woman, had lived like 2 blocks up from my aunt's house
Mhm.
and called the bandit sign, wouldn't give me a name, wouldn't give me any information, wouldn't even give me the house address.
Mhm.
And she just told me a story. And, she said, "I'll call you back in 2 weeks." And I'm like, "Okay." And, she calls me back, and then she gives me the address, and I look it up and
Mhm.
see that it's, right up from my aunt's house, and
Mhm.
I'm like, "My aunt lives right down the street from you."
Yeah.
And, so finally, it took me a good few months. I ended up taking Nick Allerud and Megan, I can't remember her last name. She came out with me on that appointment,
Mhm.
and we wrote the contract in that time. The price was wrong, and no one wanted to do the deal. I couldn't wholesale it. And I called my old business partner, and I said,
The apartment building guy.
no, that started IPS with me.
Okay. Okay.
And so before that, early on, me and him were just working together. I called him, and we hadn't even worked together. And he's like, he didn't do Massachusetts. And he knew I knew Lowell, Mass.
Mhm.
And he said, "Listen, I'll give you the money. I'll lend you the money." Like we had gone out a few times. He knew that I was, not a scumbag.
Mhm.
And said, "I'll lend you the money. You do the rehab." I'm like, "Ray, like, dude, I'm down to like 3 grand right now looking for a part-time job again. Like, I'm not taking your money right now.
Mhm.
Like, I can't do it." He said, "How about this? I'll buy the house. We'll split the profits." Sold.
Mm.
Like, sign me up. Where do I do
Yeah.
this? The lady, because the lady called and said, "I'm leaving the country in 48 hours. Either you can buy the house or not." And I said, "Well, here's my number." And
Mhm.
that's when I called Ray, and we got it.
Mhm.
That house netted us about 100 grand in 2 months.
Oh, wow.
I got lucky.
Yeah.
We did the floors. We did a few things. We hadn't even finished, and a neighbor came over saying, "My daughter's been looking for a house for a long time that's on this street. Will you sell it to us?"
Mhm.
And we said, "Yes. Here's our price. What do you want done?" So we rehabbed it
For them.
for them.
Yeah.
So that 50 kept me in the game. And
Yeah.
that was like the first deal, bandit sign. And then I was like, all I got to do is hang bandit signs. I got to
Right.
run around and do more bandit
Mhm.
signs. And that's what brought me,
Okay.
to here.
So then, real estate full time, you don't go back at all then, right?
No.
Okay. So, first one, you get 50.
Yeah.
This is about 10 years ago, right?
Yes. 9, 10 years ago. Yeah.
Okay. So, what were some of the challenges you had in the very beginning?
Just because I was rehabbing at that, like truly I was basically the GC
Mhm.
is what that came down to. So I had my I got my real estate license, and then I couldn't go to a customer's house and do the wholesale thing.
Mhm.
I couldn't mentally bridge that gap of
Yeah.
you hear about it of how can I show up and pitch that I'm buying it, but I'm actually assigning it,
Mhm.
right? And not be a sleazeball about it.
Right.
Okay. So I just didn't do it. I just went and I was going to buy the house. And I had a book with me on the cover of the book that said I was the inherited specialist.
Okay.
And you could buy books back then that said you were like, you could, what do they call it? Ghostwriting or
Mhm.
whatever it was. So you could buy a
Yeah.
book, and I would show up to these appointments and just like it could have been about dogs in
Mhm.
the book, but they didn't care. They saw my face on a book and they were like, there's a celebrity.
Makes
in it,"
sense.
right?
Yeah.
Anyway, so I rehabbed for the first 5 years,
Mhm.
4 years, and it was tough because it wasn't enough money. Because my partner at the time, he had run a 50 mil business.
Mhm.
So he'd already retired and he didn't need the money like I needed the money.
Right.
Right? Like I needed money to survive. So it'd be this constant, you know, up, the up and down swing
Yeah.
they talk about in real estate. And that was probably up till 3 years ago when I bought him out.
Mhm.
And because it was always, did we have a good quarter? If we had a good quarter, great, paid ourselves.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Wow. It was like that. So like
Yeah.
you weren't even paying yourself regularly
no, and I didn't
Okay.
have control over the money. He was
up
was.
until 3 years ago.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So swinging a hammer,
Mhm.
GC,
Mhm.
managing subs.
Mhm.
I imagine you're probably pretty good at that.
Yeah.
Right.
That I'm pretty good at.
I can see you. Like, I have a hard time seeing those other two versions of you.
Yeah.
I can see you running in as like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Why is this not done? Where are you? I'm at the property. You're not here. Where the F are you?
Yeah.
That I can see.
Yeah. Managing subs, I was good with.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
I didn't like doing it, but I did it,
Mhm.
and I knew enough to keep because I had swung the hammer, so I
Mhm.
had already known what was up.
Oh, you're good
Right.
with your hands too.
Yeah, exactly, right? So, I might not have, like, a in-depth construction background,
Mhm.
but I could run a saw, right?
Right.
And, like
Yeah.
right.
So then when did it become real for you? Because you're saying like up until 3 years ago, you weren't even sure you're going to pay yourself every quarter. When was real estate real for you? I've got some big news, and you'll want to hear all of this because I'm going to give you the best bonus ever at the end of this video. You all know that I've been providing sales training for 6 years now, and I've had the opportunity to train hundreds of the best teams in the country and thousands of individuals as well. And they've all had wild success along the way, some of which you've even seen on this podcast. You also know Ian Ross, who has been coaching alongside me now for over 2 years. He's the biggest sales geek ever, and he's been training business owners and individual contributors ever since he started working here. He even runs the Close More Sales podcast. But we had a problem. There was a lot of confusion. What is it exactly that we sell here? Is it Disruptors training? Is it Steve Trang training? Or is it Close More Sales training? It's none of those. It is objection-proof selling. Ian runs objection-proof selling for business owners and individuals. I run objection-proof selling for teams where I coach their entire team. And to celebrate the rebrand, I want to give you something that I never would have thought been possible until recently. We've been training this AI bot for over a year now to score all of our sales calls internally. Every call we run, we have the bot review the call to Ian and mine exact standards for sales. We run every one of our team members' calls through the same exact AI bot. And now we're giving it to you for free. This bot will review your calls based on dozens and dozens of metrics. It will tell you what you did well, what you can do better, again, by the standards of the objection-proof selling formula. And if you want to use our bot for free, just head over to our website, objectionproofselling.com/AI. Again, objectionproofselling.com/AI. I want to emphasize here, you're getting access to our bot, which allows you to get better at sales for free so that you can make even more money now without having to spend another dollar. Go check it out now.
Yeah. When I decided that I wanted to basically I was tired of that. And I had already gone to him a few times of like, because he had the hard money. He had control of all the finances. And I was marketing and sales. And it was basically...
You guys are 50-50? Okay.
And it basically came down to, I mean, good guy. It was just, he was on a different trajectory in life than I was.
Different visions.
Different visions, right? And that's when it really became real. And that's when I hired Simple CFO, and Christina has been with me since the beginning, when I had to go learn about finance. So that's when it really got real, because we had employees, we had marketing budgets. Like it was easy to, I slept at night till 3.5 years ago, right? Where, because I didn't worry about it. He had money. If we
you were
never,
short, it wasn't a problem.
It wasn't a problem. We never were, because he was a controller, PI type, and he had financial acumen. So I didn't even think about that stuff.
Right.
All I thought about was growth and sales and deals. And
so then when did you start wholesaling?
that was probably about 5 years ago.
Okay.
And we started going there. And that's when I started to see scalability, started to go into different groups. Like we did boardroom, and we did, I coached with Rob Hyder for a while. And I started to see that guy can do it. I probably can swing this, you know?
Yeah. Rob's a great guy.
Rob's a superstar that keeps his head down and does his job.
At some point we got to get him on the show. We've talked about it, but he still hasn't come on to the show.
I definitely can poke him.
He's probably just too busy being a big deal in St. Louis.
He's definitely, I've gone there a couple of times and hung out with him, and he's just a good dude and always helped me. He's like one of the people originally that helped me give me the confidence to walk away, you know, from a business partner at the time.
Yeah.
Even though Rob was coaching both of us, he stayed neutral and knew what I was trying to accomplish.
And you mentioned Nick Allerud. So he was on the show a few years ago. I want to say when we first got into the space 5 years ago. He was one of the first guests in here.
Yeah.
So he worked with you.
That's a dicey subject that I will say, man, I'm having that like moment of authenticity, right? So Nick helped out early on. Okay. I paid him to be a coach, and his wife owns an attorney shop. Most of the beginner wholesalers go there because he had a big mastermind. I brought my team to his brokerage, and one of my team members at the time started talking shit behind my back, because she was down at the office, and she was down there saying, Joe doesn't do it. I'm the superstar. I'm the superstar. You were the superstar with $30,000 a month, the marketing budget behind you, and a whole team setting you appointments, right? And we had a falling out, is what that was with Nick, right?
Gotcha.
So it's kind of where we'll leave that story in the sense of being in a positive growth mindset.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of, we had a falling out. We moved forth. Yeah.
So somewhere along the way, you mentioned boardroom. You were in boardroom.
Yep.
We met through Collective Genius.
Yep. Kind of. You just don't remember it. You don't remember.
Refresh my memory.
You were around before CG, because we came and we bought training off of you because we had a hole in Dispo, and you were doing some kind of product that
Dispo
was
training.
Dispo training.
Yes.
Okay. So somehow, I got linked to you because I was out here years ago in Phoenix with Brent Daniels, and I started doing radio. So there was a crossroads there that ended up happening like 6 years ago. For you, just don't remember me. I remembered all the fancy faces back then. It's all good. It's all right. I'm not offended. I'm not offended. He's not on my shit list yet. No, it was never like that. But
so the radio, was that when Chris Arnold?
Yes.
Okay. So you're out here.
That's
gotcha.
So I just the weirdest thing happened at that time period. I came out for some reason. I don't remember if I was in boardroom or not, but I went out because Brent was like bringing people out to the office, and I knew a few other people out here. I can't remember the guy's name. It doesn't matter. But I met like 3 or 4 different people in a weekend. When I was at Brent's office, Chris Arnold was there.
Yeah.
He was just starting the radio thing.
Right, I remember that.
And I heard Chris talk. And this was before anyone was doing TV and radio. Nobody was doing TV. Like, very few people were doing TV 6 years ago. Like, unless you had been around forever, right? It isn't like it is now.
Yeah.
I heard Chris talk, and he was like, I've been doing radio. I was like, mind blown.
Right.
Mind blown. And I was like, I hit him. He didn't even have the training out yet. I was like, dude, like, what do I got to do?
Yeah.
You know? And I hit it big with radio. And that's what changed the business.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I started to be a media buyer.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I had no idea.
I had 20 radio stations I was managing.
Okay. All in Nashua or Nashua? And
Boston and New Hampshire. I mean, Massachusetts and New Hampshire. Yep.
Wow.
And that's what brought it. That's what changed it from like, we were doing some PPC, some bandit signs, cold call. We were texting. We were big. I was like the first person texting with Sherpa back in the day.
Yeah.
Sherpa was one. So it was bandit signs, texting. Texting started to slow. And then it was radio.
Wow.
And then I smacked it with radio before.
Got it.
We were doing like, I think pre-COVID, it was like we were doing like a 10K spend, and we were doing 25 leads a week. Call-in leads. Steve, people calling the phone, 25 leads a week.
Wow.
I don't even know what it would cost me to get 25 people to call me right now.
Cost quite a bit more.
A lot more now. No one calls now. Even with a $50,000 a month TV spend, we'll get a couple calls a week.
So you were a celebrity at that time with just radio?
Just radio.
Yeah.
Just radio.
Okay, so that puts you, now you're a lot more business, a lot more reputation.
Yeah.
Easier to do deals.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And then later on we connect through CG.
Yeah. We get personal, Steve. We have the kung fu jiu-jitsu thing.
Right.
And you're a good guy, and so I'm drawn to people like that.
Yeah. So we're gonna talk about the jiu-jitsu thing in a second here. So CG, what brought you to CG?
That was the other piece of the puzzle that, like, I was so afraid not afraid, but there was a lot of fear around, like, that was a lot of money, man. Like, moving that kind of money around and being responsible for people's lives that were employees wasn't something that I took lightly. Yeah. And I wanted to make because I always could go to Ray. I could, it was like I still call him, and I still mess around. I'm like, hey, Dad, we still do deals together every now and again. And even now, I still call him for advice, right? And so it was like they were there, like, for that, to fill that gap where I felt like I could get any question answered, and there were people there that had my back no matter what. Yeah. And that was important for me. And that's really what CG was, and Simple CFO have been for me. Is just, I still, to this day, pay both of those. Yeah. It's, I pay both those fees each month, and I don't even blink at it.
What has CG done for you?
Yeah. CG, what's it done for me? I mean, I have friends there, like, legit. I feel for a long time I was kind of quiet. I don't go and hobnob with everybody and try and be that guy that fits in. But now I've become known, and I've been able to help people there, right? And my wife, Candy, feels part of, right? And she's been able to give back to CG. There's like an amount of second family, like, that I go. It's like, honestly, I don't meet extended family me anymore. It's all kind of like, I go to CG, it's my extended family to a certain degree. So it's given me that that base and room and growth and connection,
Mhm.
right? And stability to be able to get to know that, like, I always say that I'm in CG. Like,
Yeah.
I'm proud of it, that I'm part of it, you know?
And for everyone who's listening, wondering what CG is, collective genius. So I think if you've been listening to the show by now, you probably know what it is, but just an FYI. So there's a little bit of a jujitsu community in there,
Yep.
right? You're into jujitsu.
Yes.
So you got yoga and now jujitsu.
Yep.
Why are you doing jujitsu?
It's yeah, why am I doing jujitsu now?
Mhm.
It's I had that question answered more clear a few years ago
Yeah.
than I do today, because I'm a little bit of in drama land with a little bit of some of the jujitsu stuff that you know about.
Mhm.
That again, I'm going to stay in a positive light, and we won't throw stones at the
Right.
glass house. But you know, it really's given me, like, when I first started jujitsu and moving your body in ways that is counterintuitive.
Mhm.
So your natural pathway of however your brain is wired, I believe, is if someone's either on top of you, or um, your your first instinct is to turn your back and run.
Mhm.
And it's almost the absolute worst thing you can do is to give somebody your back in jujitsu, because
Right.
I'm going to choke you. Like, I'm just looking to see how I can get to Steve's back so I can choke him. Like, that's what goes through my head, right?
Yeah.
So it's like new pathways,
Mhm.
right? And then it became friends. Like, you end up rolling and fighting with the same people most of the time if you go at the same time, which I was a 6 a.m., one of those loony 6 a.m. guys. Um, so there was like that connection again, that family again,
Yeah.
that new pathways of training and like lifting weights. Dude, I've been lifting weights since I've been 15, right? Pick weight up, put weight down, right?
Not a lot of complexity.
Yeah, it is not. And that, I like that. I don't want to do dynamic lifting. I got just pick the weight up, push the weight away, or pull the weight. It's real simple.
Yeah.
Push, pull, stand up, sit down, right? So jujitsu gave me a way to stay active that was new and fresh, and that's important for me because I can get stagnant really
Right.
easy, and it's not healthy for me in general. I'll go hide, dude. I'll go hide in the basement and just fucking get away from everybody.
Yeah.
You know?
So has it helped you at all in business?
Yeah. Generally, I am a super hothead. And really, what I want to tell people is not what comes out of my mouth, and how I want to handle employees and handle attorneys and handle situations. Has my natural tendency would be to use many curse words,
Colorful language. for sure.
colorful language, and cut you to the quick as fast as I could. So it's given me an outlet, right, to blow off steam. So I'm a little more like, maybe not. So maybe I'm just too tired. I've already been choked out, or I've been tapped like by an 18-year-old or whatever it
Yeah.
is. It's just, you get humbled. There's an amount of humbling that ends up happening.
Yeah.
For sure, an amount of humbling that no matter how much you tried, that person still made you say uncle. That's a really humbling experience at 6 a.m. multiple times a week, right? Like, no matter how you spin.
That's why I quit CrossFit.
Yeah.
But like, because for me, like I do Kung Fu and I love Kung Fu.
Yeah.
Right. And the thing I like most about Kung Fu is just the mastery.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, again, you talk about counterintuitive. The way we punch, the way we want to punch looks a lot like how you see it on TV. And that's how you break a hand.
Yeah.
Right. So you can't punch that way. So you have to like punch in a more optimal way. And so like, that's all we do in Kung Fu, right? Because like, if I'm going to fight somebody, I'm going to fight with no equipment. And my goal again is to like permanently maim you, right? Like that's the goal. And so what's funny was like when we were at CG, that we had Wyatt there, Jimmy, right? Wyatt Johnson, Jimmy Vreeland, and the guys, like, hey, we're doing this jujitsu thing in the morning. You want to join us? He's like, nah, I'll play basketball. I was like, well, you should check it out. And then I said to him, I think it was Wyatt, I was like, look, I'll come with you guys. But here's the thing. I'm a Kung Fu guy. My only defense is against you guys, because I know if I'm on the ground, I'm dead. There's no question, right? As soon as my back is on the mat, I'm tapping out. There's no point in even like trying to move around. Tapping the mat says I'm on the ground. My only defense to stay up is to punch you in the face as you're coming in. It's like, well, we don't do that here. It's like, well, then what am I supposed to do? I'm not going to the mass with you guys. If I'm not even allowed to defend myself the only way I know how to defend myself. So, but yeah, for me, the thing I love most about Kung Fu, there's two things. One is the mastery of oneself, mastery of skill. Because that's the reason why they started Kung Fu back in the day. That's the only way you can learn mastery if we didn't have all these distractions. And then B, it really clears your mind because you can't think about business.
Yes.
If you're getting punched in the face, you're getting beat up on the ground, someone's trying to choke you out.
Yeah.
There's no thinking.
100%. I forgot about it. There's definitely there's a correlation between yoga and jujitsu for me, and people don't. Whatever, I'll just say it. People don't realize, generally speaking, that what we know as people in the U.S. as yoga is you go into a yoga class, right? You see them do up dog, down dog. There's other forms of yoga called pranayama and bhakti and the breath work and meditation and which is clearing your mind. And, that the asana part is what you see, generally speaking, people moving through yoga, right? Or through the sequences, right? And you're timing your union of breath and movement is what it all kind of supposed to happen when you do an asana. I didn't realize that I could go do a different sport and have that same mind clearing happen where I still had to breathe.
Right.
I still had to, really, I really have to focus on. I do more focusing on breath right now, actually, than I ever did in yoga because of I'm getting older, and people are younger, and I just can't keep up with them. And it clears my head, and it's really an interesting, parallel between the two that I even try to tell Candy sometimes. I'm like, there's such a parallel there for me of being able to clear my mind. With the yoga, with jujitsu, I'm more tired and injured and more of that type of stuff, right? In general, like warfare, like I've just had a battle to a certain degree. With yoga, my mind is clear and it's a little more balanced because the sequences you do are usually left side, right side, right? So you're generally, I would feel a little more balanced. Would probably be the only real difference of movement with body in yoga versus movement with body in jujitsu.
Yeah.
Right.
We had one of the co-founders of MAPS Coaching. He was on here a few years ago. And he was asking me, we were talking about meditation. And I was like, well, I don't really like to meditate. I don't really like the waking up early, sitting still and just doing that. He's like, no, like anytime you're doing a physical activity where you're not thinking about what the problems are at home, problems at the office, that's your own form of meditation. You just don't realize you're meditating because you're present. You're playing basketball, you're fighting, you're present. You're not thinking about anything else. You're here right now. And then you also got to work with Andy, I think, a bit as well.
Yeah, a lot.
A lot. So not a bit. What has that done for you?
Well, funny you say. Funny you ask is what I meant to say. Funny you ask that I fly back tomorrow. I get in around 9:00, and then I got to be in Rockport, Massachusetts for 2:00 to spend Friday night, Saturday, Sunday, Monday with Annie and my wife. And that's going to be interesting. And that's been a journey for sure. The working with your wife has probably been one of the biggest business challenges that I've had
Mhm.
I'm in truly trying to figure that out over the years and
Yeah.
working with Pat Precor, working with a bunch of different coaches. But Annie really can get through
Mhm.
with Candy. It's very logical, so it's very logic brain
Mhm.
type person, really smart. But Annie's able to talk to her in a way that can get through the logic and still um, have the woo woo
Mhm.
make a little bit of sense to a
Yeah.
certain degree. Um, that piece, it's been the best coach that I've had.
Mm.
From I don't know, I don't know. That's a tough thing to say. Um, how do you say that nicer, like without being a kiss ass either? The what she's done for my marriage and what she's done to help my employees and myself be a
Mhm.
better leader. That's the person that has helped me the most,
Yeah.
right? In the past 3.5 years, right?
So was it a leadership component? Because I thought she did more mindset stuff, or is
It's
it both?
it's for me, like she's pretty intertwined
Mhm.
with me and the business and Candy,
Mhm.
right? So she's doing leadership stuff in the business. Uh weekly we have a meeting for leadership to be in there. And then we just opened it up for the whole company in this past
Okay.
month because we were doing a feedback form.
Mhm.
And now, if only leadership is doing the feedback form and the rest of the employees aren't doing it, it is a touch problematic.
Mm.
So we opened it up to the company,
Everybody.
right? So there's the leadership component that Annie's been doing,
Mhm.
and then and what would you ask? What
What
was
was
the
the
piece?
mindset component?
Yeah, yeah. So the mindset component as well. Um, so for instance, one of my sales reps was struggling last week. She's a captain. She's my first woman outside salesperson. Um, and we have a bunch of women that work for me, but she's the first outside sales one. She went from inside sales, was a rock star,
Mhm.
but she was a teacher and made her switch inside sales and now outside sales, captain,
Mhm.
looks for processes and looks for ways to put things into a box or a process. She
Yeah.
doesn't have an answer for it.
Mhm.
And that isn't always the best for a salesperson when you're
Mhm.
trying to get them emotional with a customer.
Yeah.
So Annie's been really good with, so my rep asked me last week, she's like, Joe, can I schedule something with Annie? Like
Mhm.
she knows when it's time for an Annie session.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, fine. And
She's kinda
Annie,
like, when you watch Billions, she's,
yeah,
Wendy.
yeah, 100. Yes, yes. There we go. That is a real. Oh my God, I'm gonna call it Wendy all
Yeah.
weekend now.
Yeah.
That's really what it is for the company, for me,
Mhm.
because now like she knows most of the people in the company. I'm like Annie, like I'll leave her a message and I'm like, listen, I need you to deal with this. Like
Yeah.
I'm not because she's been trying to get me to not. I have a bad habit of managing people's emotions.
What does that mean?
Um, that means what I'll do is I'll hear whatever issues are going on
Mhm.
because my door is always open. I know, terrible, terrible, blah, blah, blah. Give me all, you can smack me after, whatever. All
Mhm.
right. But my door is open, right? That's who I am at that point.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to grow personally and in real estate professionally. And Annie said, Joe, that's gonna stop.
Mhm.
And I'm like, okay, but we can't, that gap has to be filled, right? Somebody has to fill that gap or
Mhm.
the children will be all out warfare
Yeah.
in the office, right? So the the piece of, you know, Annie being able to um manage those people's emotions, because what will happen is people will come to me and I'll give them the oh good
Mhm.
boy,
Mhm.
all right, go back to work,
Mhm.
right? Like I'll take on the problem so that you just go back to work,
Yeah.
right? That's gotten me to here. And when you got 15 to 20 people working for you, that's exhausting,
Mhm.
right? And so that reset and recalibrate, and we've struggled with emotions as a team. Annie has said it. We have as a team need to grow up a little bit emotionally.
Mhm.
We're very good real estate wise, but like the emotions can get in the way sometimes of just like what's going on. Of like maybe they start Dispo doesn't approve the deal that comes
Mhm.
in from acquisitions,
Mhm.
and then acquisition starts whining and crying and being like,
I
"Oh,
see.
Amy didn't approve my deal. She don't like me."
So kind of they can get overly emotional in handling conflict.
Yes, yes, that's right. There it is. There it
Yeah.
is. That's the piece I was missing, is that we are a conflict adverse team.
Got it.
So that in turn, what ends up happening is now problems don't get dealt with,
Mhm. So they
and
percolate.
then they percolate,
Mhm.
and then they don't explode, but then the "Meh, meh, 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 meh"
Mhm.
starts,
Yeah.
right? And I actually don't like that. So what I do is I would try and head it off
Mhm.
and fix those
Yeah.
problems,
Mhm.
right? And that's not really fun. And then you have your wife working with you full
Mhm.
time that's involved in that mix, who's a former Marine and and doesn't put up with it like I do.
Yeah.
And then
You're the
now
softie on the team?
funny and that 100%. That's
Okay.
oh yeah, 100%. Everyone knows that I'm like dad, the passive dad, right?
Okay.
Like, oh yeah, 100%. And I don't want that for her either. And
Mhm.
that's a dynamic that I'm trying to fix.
Yeah.
And the only reason she's doing that is to protect me.
Mhm.
And she wants me to be a better person and
Mhm.
not let people come to me.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
So then her whole trauma is starting.
Mhm.
And the team's trauma is going. And then my trauma is going. And it's like to just like stop all of that
Mhm.
so that I don't need her. I don't need Candy to be I don't want her to be that. I want her to be a woman that's soft
Mhm.
and caring and helping
Yeah.
people. I don't want the Marine.
Mhm.
You don't
It's a
want the
stand-up
Marine.
post outside
You
your
don't
door.
want. Yeah, don't want that. Right. I
Yeah.
thought I did. Right. And then you
Mhm.
come to see that that's not. It's not good for your marriage.
Yeah.
Right. When you work together.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, having working with someone that you're married with. I mean, I can say, I for sure. Well, I guess I can't say for sure anymore because we're probably gonna start a hard money company together
Mhm.
that she's gonna be in charge of. I'm not gonna be in charge
Sweet.
of, but that's gonna be her department because I can't have any more distractions. That's her department.
Yep.
But I remember like talk about trauma. You know, when I was wearing my realtor hat, broker hat, realtor hat, and she worked at my friend's mortgage company. Right. So my friend, who was the top female loan officer in the country, my wife works there. And so because this loan officer is so successful, she has all the business from all the top realtors in Phoenix. And so my wife's like, hey, so and so opened an escrow today. Hey, so and so just submitted loan docs. So and so is closing this many deals this month, or someone so and so opened this many escrows this week. And I'm just sitting there like, I'm just trying to I just
Yeah.
enjoy this nice hot meal,
Mhm. Mhm.
right? Because there was a lot of blurring, maybe not even blurring. It just all flowed together,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
right? And it's like, no, like we have to have like this is work time,
Yep.
this is family time, and we weren't working at the same company.
Right.
It's just I have a brokerage with a bunch of realtors and my realtor team, and she gets to see all these loans
Yep.
go through the door at that branch.
Yep.
Yeah, not good.
Yeah. It's tough. You know what I mean? And like you said, that's not fun. It's not
Mhm.
healthy. And the thing is, you let it happen sometimes too, right?
Mhm.
And then it repeats, and then it keeps going,
And then it becomes normal.
then it becomes normal, right?
Mhm.
Um, and it's just not. It's taken me years to figure that out.
Mhm.
Took me years to get divorce my business partner. Took me
Mhm.
years to figure it out. It's taken me just as much time now to see that like for me to grow, these things need to stop. And
Yeah.
that's where the growth part of Annie has come
Mhm.
in for me as a leader,
Yeah.
where she's like, it's okay, Joe, you're here.
Mhm.
Like I, I wasn't ever safe failing in saying like I've arrived,
Mhm.
right? Like you don't say that in being sober or doing some of the thing or in jujitsu, right? You don't, and even in real estate, like we know,
Definitely don't want to say it in martial arts.
right? 100%, right? and you don't want to, and as someone that's like Yeah, I mean, me and you joking outside of here, or CG guys joking around together. The jokes like Adam Devine will bust my chops and be like, "Oh, it's Joe, King of New Hampshire," like, and then I'll bust chops with my, candy. I'm like, I'm the king of New Hampshire, right?
Yeah.
But in reality, that's not really humble. It's fun to, we joke around.
Well,
We know each other and we can bust each other's chops, right? But that I don't really have that mindset of myself. I always feel that I haven't arrived. And Annie's been pushing me like, Joe, you're here. Like you realize that you're like in the top like 0.02% of the world's population and top 1% of USA. You do understand that. And she's like, no matter what happens, you'll figure it out. Even if they took everything away from you right now, you would figure it out.
Yeah.
Right. So to have someone that you trust talk to you in that way and being like, hey, it's okay. Right. It's okay to embrace stepping into the light. Right.
Yeah.
And,
Well, it's why you're here.
It is why I'm here. That conversation from Annie gave me the permission to be like, you know what? It's okay to say, you know what? I do have real estate acumen, business acumen, and and that came from her.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, as successful as we all are, we still need permission sometimes from external places.
Yeah.
We still need it. And also the whole part about, like, there's healthy paranoia. Don't want to say I've made it, because every time I've said it, it's come back to bite me in the butt. So I don't say it anymore.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, to embrace, like, we are successful, that we have, hit certain milestones. I was talking to someone earlier today, like, every version of me will look back at a previous version of me as like, that guy was an idiot.
Yeah, for
Right?
sure.
But we're still growing, and we feel good. But like, yeah, like, we've made a lot of stupid mistakes. And Annie, when we talk about Annie Yash, like, I remember I had a one-on-one with her years ago, right? And we talked about like the trauma that I've gone through, and I am who I am because of the way I was raised. And I was like, well, I am proud of who I am. I am proud that I'm a rational person. I'm proud that I will do whatever it takes to win, right? And I have no regrets, I'm not asking for forgiveness that I'm going to go out there and crush and dominate. It's like, that's fine. Just recognize you're leaving a wake in your path.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean? It's like all the people that have worked with you who felt abandoned, people who have felt isolated, that they were left on an island. And it's like, I have had a lot of people tell me that they felt like they were on an island. They were left to fend for themselves. And I took it personally, and I was defensive at first. Because every time someone has said that to me, it's like, you know exactly where I am. You know exactly where my office is. You know I'm in that office, in that chair, and have always returned every phone call. Anytime someone that, works with me calls me, I get back to every single one of them within a few hours. But every single one, every single time. So it didn't make sense to me, this part where they said they felt like they were on an island. But when she mentioned, well, you're going so fast that people feel like they can't keep up with you, or they feel like they're letting you down. That resonates. Yeah, that was rough to hear.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
And then you recently went on a trip. So we were talking, and like, hey, I can't talk to you right now.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm going to Puerto Rico tomorrow.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that. Today's podcast is brought to you by motivatedleads.com. With them, you can get $300 worth of quality local leads sent exclusively to your inbox by just mentioning my name. I've used them, and they're one of the best producers of solid seller leads on a local level. And they fully guarantee the leads that they send you. To get your $300 free credit, just head over to motivatedleads.com, hit the claim your area button, and let them know that I sent you.
Right.
I'm going to Puerto Rico tomorrow.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that.
What a like just crazy, how did you get here? How did this happen? Like type of a thing. 2024, we set a goal that if we did 4, I want to say 4.2 mil gross, I would take the company, all expenses paid, to some fancy all-inclusive in Mexico. we did not hit gross, and I didn't even think about putting net up on the board. It didn't occur to me.
Mhm.
I was like, if we don't hit gross, we're not going to hit net. So
Generally, that's how it works.
Generally how it works.
Yeah.
Weird enough, we didn't hit gross, but we hit net.
Hmm.
So,
The more important number.
the more important, 100%. Let's be clear. Gross is vanity, net is sanity,
Mhm.
right? So, we were at Christmas. We had our little Christmas dinner, and I said, "All right, guys, where do you want to go? Do you want to go down in a big fancy hotel in Mexico, or do you want to rent a mansion in Puerto Rico and all stay together?" Not one person said, "Let's go to Mexico." They all wanted to stay together in Puerto Rico.
Mhm.
God, I wanted my own room by myself,
Right.
away from you all,
Mhm.
right? So in like 3 weeks, we put a trip together, and because we were trying to get it done before, February hits and the market starts picking up, right?
Mhm.
So January, we take 11 employees and 3 spouses down, all expenses paid.
Wow, nice.
Rented this huge, like, where they've done Victoria's Secret's model shoots, like this big, huge place.
Mhm.
And private chef, super cool guy, just authentic Puerto Rican food, like, and taking employees down
Mhm.
that, like, from homeless to being able to take 14 people down, not even blanket the money, no matter whatever we wanted to go do, we did, and we just paid for it all. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like what is that? And like how that's how I fill my cup, is to see that we were able to take it. I call them kids in their 20s, young adults in their
I mean,
20s.
they are.
Young adults.
They're your
and
kids at that
kids
age.
in their kids. I was a kid in my early 20s
Mhm.
that had never been snorkeling. We got to take them snorkeling, went out, saw sea turtles, rays, like, to be able to go do those things, and like they had a blast. They had a
Yeah.
blast. And we all stayed in this big place together.
Mhm.
And the whole theme for 2025 was growth and connection.
Yeah.
So that we had some bandwidth for each other. When maybe we are real busy in 2025, and maybe we don't get a chance to do that feedback form, you can think back to Puerto Rico and go, well, Joe's really not that big of a douchebag. Remember when he was cooking meals for us? Maybe he does care about us.
Yeah.
And maybe I'll get a little bit of extra grace, right?
So what did that do for you and your company?
Yeah. For me and the company, you could clearly see everybody's rowing together right now.
Yeah.
It is something like, I might not make the most. I may not be doing the most amount of deals out of everybody in CG, but or in general in the world, what I pride myself on is I just had a new guy start. So to answer this is how I would answer the question. I had a new guy start last Monday, and he'd interviewed and gone through, and he was like, I thought they were lying to me. I thought it was a hook to get me to work here, that like people actually like you as a boss. Like,
Yeah.
and there isn't, and he came into my office on Friday after being there for a week. He was like, there isn't any one employee that, like, that old goat in the corner, or that like jackass that nobody likes, right? Like, you live and die by the core values. So it's given us that, like, it's given us connection. That's really what we were shooting for. With that whole trip, we were looking for connection, right?
Yeah. Everyone's rowing the boat in the same direction.
Everyone's rowing the boat right now. It's crazy. It's
Talk to me about some of the wins for the people in your company.
yeah, wins in the company, right? So you get to work with me, like,
Of course.
right? Just put that right up there on the board, right? And then, but like at 20 something years old, nobody cared about me. No one invested in me. Yeah, I worked my ass off for companies building them. No one cared, right? Like, to be able to do growth plans with employees, setting them up on, like, everybody has, for a lot of the real estate companies out there, it doesn't happen this way. They're getting a 401k with a 3% match from me. Okay. I'll circle back to that 401k. I'll highlight everything. Everybody has health insurance. Everybody has paid time off. Everybody can invest with me. Everybody has growth opportunities. I'll give everybody. I'll get. We want my shirt. Like, what is it? I'll give you everything. Everything in 47 years that it's taken me to get. I give to you. I try and make it truly our thing that separates us. Is I want to be the best company in the world to work at. That's what's more important to me, because I know if I make that happen, I can actually go do the next thing. Right. Cause like you, I want to go. I want to rip. Let's go. Whatever, man. Whatever. Let's do a hard money company. You want to do let's go. Right.
Yeah.
Like, we get it. We could do hard money loans. Like, dude, I'll underwrite them all for you. I'm a great underwriter. Right. You get the money. I'll underwrite. Let's go. Right. Not everybody can run like that, you know, and to see that, like, they get growth to people. For example, with one of the employees, I have a 20-year teacher that left her job. I think you've met Amy. 20-year teacher, 90 grand a year. First year with me, 270 grand. Second year with me, well over that. All right. So, like, to be able to do that and be able to give people a path in real estate that isn't, well, just go be a real estate agent and don't get some listings, right? Like, to be able to transform people's lives is it's an ego trip for sure. There's no doubt. And it fills my cup up when I show up every day, because I know that, like, I can see I have other teachers, I have wait staff, bartenders, and I have, it's like, just every walk of life. There's less the job to come work for me because they came in and interviewed and saw that it was a great company. They want to be there. Like, I don't know. Does that answer it? You know?
Oh, for sure. I mean, the vision, right, is like someone come in and they can turn their life around. I mean, that's something that I've always strived for. That was something that I was inspired by Carnegie, right? Like, you know, creating millionaires. The reason why I say I'm on a mission to become millionaires, like, I want to help people win. It's actually one of the reasons why it was hurtful, when people were like, abandoned. Like, what are you talking about? Like, I want you to win. Right. And so, but I think it's awesome. It's inspiring. And I think that every business owner should listen to that, because if everyone feels like you have their best interest at heart, they'll protect you and they'll stick around, right? Like, someone's acting out of line, they'll self-regulate. We don't need Joe to come and regulate. They'll take care of it themselves. Like, it's their company now, because their success is directly tied to the company doing well. So I think that's huge.
It is. That's a good way to reframe what I was trying to say, is being able to, like, not only financially get better, but to be able to work with some of the best coaches and be able to remove some of your own traumas at 20 years old. Like, your boss in the company paid for it to go do. Like, what is that?
It's one of the reasons why I left the first company I was at. My mentor, his company, was like, yeah, you're coaching me and you asked me to come here, but, like, when it came time to invest in me, you didn't want to split with me. I didn't say, like, pay for all of it. It's like, you want to split this with me, because when I do well, the company does well. I'm just asking you for you to split it with me. He's like, no, like, you know, like, you're supposed to invest in yourself and this and that. I was like, okay, well, I'm going to invest in me, but now I'm investing in only me. Right.
Yeah.
So
right.
that was, I mean, that's, for me, maybe it shouldn't have been a turnoff. Maybe I'm just being ridiculous, but for me, that was kind of like, oh, like, this really, I'm in it for me. I'm here for me, because, like, he doesn't really have, he's happy to get my percentage of my commission checks.
Right.
But he's not as excited to invest in my success.
Yeah, 100%. Right. It's like, I know that they have to win for me to win. Right. Like, I know that, and our turnover rate, like, we had I think we lost one employee. I let 2 go last year, and I think it's 95% retention right now. You know what I mean? Like, it's 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 stuff that I'm proud of, and people, a few of the employees now that have grown themselves financially are investing with me. And then the thing that I did want to go back to is that 401k thing. I spent all of 2024 doing that 401k and making it so that, because you can just go to your bank, open a 401k, and do a 3% safe harbor for everybody at the shop, right? Great. Well, I don't know how to describe it, but I know a guy I knew John Heyer, and he knew a guy, and guy is wicked smart.
Yeah.
So we were able to open a 401k that allows us to invest in real estate. So now we were going to make it so we could pool everybody's funds in the 401k. But I don't want that as the trustee. I do not want that responsibility, and I don't want to end up in federal prison for some kind of stupid violation. So it just gives them that opportunity to, like, never mind, because now that, like, employees are at the office, they want to be able to invest in real estate, right?
Yeah.
And well, now you can put in $25,000 a year, and you get a 3% match from me. And now you can turn around and invest your money and buy real estate with it.
Yeah.
That was not an easy lift to make that all happen. It sounds easy in description, but I think that's not easy. And I probably would say there aren't too many people that have that availability with their employee.
Well, compliance is an issue.
Compliance is an issue.
Compliance. The 401k component. Is it self-directed 401k? Is that what
No, this is not a self-directed. This is a normal 401k at John Hancock that you open. They're not a self-directed. This is a company 401k, like your dad or whoever had put all their money and worked their life to put their money into their 401k.
Wow. Yeah.
A normal 401k. Okay?
Yeah, I've not heard of that. Typically, when you're investing in real estate,
you got to do your self-directed or your IRA, whatever, right? HSA or whatever it is.
Yeah.
No, this is 401k, which you can, I forget what the max is per year as an employee. You can contribute, we'll just call it 25k a year that you can put in.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Right? So it's just, stuff I'm proud of.
That was great. Well, I mean, again, like, your people are happy to work with you. And then another thing too is, so you're in Nashua and Boston.
So I'm in New Hampshire and Massachusetts.
So states,
yes. Yeah. So almost all of Massachusetts, where there's population, is where I'm generally in the Boston market, and then all of New Hampshire. There isn't probably a town in New Hampshire I haven't done a deal in.
Okay.
Yeah. So all of New Hampshire, and I've done stuff in Maine. I ran TV in Maine. We've probably done, I don't know, 50 deals in Maine, handful in Vermont, Connecticut, Rhode Island. I've done them, but generally it's all of New Hampshire. I want to say I own New Hampshire, but there are some dogs out there for sure, nipping at my heels, and they're bigger players that can outspend me in Massachusetts all day.
So I'm asking these questions because, like, you like to do deals with other people.
Yeah.
So talk to me about that.
Yeah. So we started to kind of put it out there that let us dispo stuff for you, right? Like, where I have the staff, right? I have really good transaction coordinators. Like, and she ran a mortgage company, right? Okay. So she's
your transaction coordinator ran a mortgage company.
Yes. And she's and actually cares about people. I have to, like, reel it back and, like, we would be mean. Like, seriously, be mean. And she's awesome, right? And so, right? You get your first deal. And now, well, you're a one-man band. You send out some marketing. Now you got to go out on the appointment. So you're the marketer. You're the inside salesperson. You're the outside salesperson. Now you got to transact the deal, and you got to dispo the deal.
Right.
And oh, by the way, you got to get another deal in the door at the same time, right?
Yeah.
So
More marketing, more prospecting.
yeah, more, right? Go do that.
Mhm.
Let us do the novation. Like I hands down, there isn't a doubt in my mind. I do more novations in Mass and New Hampshire than anybody.
Mhm.
Hands down. Let me do the novation, right? Let me handle that process. You got leads that are at 85, 80 cents on the dollar and you're offering 65, 70 cents and the customers, you can't get it to work. Bring me to the table. Let me close it. Let me bring my reputation of being on TV for years to the table.
Yeah.
Let me bring the brand and who we are. You can't get the deal closed. Let us close the deal for you,
Mhm.
right? You get a deal under agreement. Let me sell the deal for you. Let me either I own the brokerage, right? I can
Mhm.
get the deal listed, and then there's 3 full-time dispo people right now for me, right? That know all facets of not just like a dispo person that just knows how to do dispo. Like they're a
Right.
real estate agent. They've been working with me, like good, solid.
They're familiar with all the exits.
They do hundreds of deals with me,
Mhm.
right? Like
Yeah.
that type of thing there is really what one of the things that I'm trying to accomplish is like I want more of those relationships and I enjoy helping people. So it's
Right.
like a natural progression for us as a company to be able to help some guys. And we have been doing it with some local people.
If someone wanted to do a deal with you, how would they go about doing that?
Yeah, text me.
Mhm.
You're honestly the biggest 603-558-8604. Just text me,
Mhm.
right? That's probably going to be your quickest, like easiest way to connect you in the company.
Mhm.
And I mean, you can find me on Facebook at Joe Theriault and Instagram.
Mhm.
I'm on both places,
Right.
right? But your quickest thing so that I can get you to whoever in
Mhm.
Dispo, right?
Got it.
And is probably the quickest,
Got it.
easiest way too, because I want to make sure that we work with the right people as
Mhm.
well. That I'm not working with, um, yeah, I want to work with the right people,
Right.
right? So
Absolutely.
it's a two-way street.
And then along the way, you managed to put $1 million in the bank. And not just $1 million on paper, which, a lot of people are. I am, right?
Mhm.
On paper,
Yeah,
not in the bank account. Right.
correct.
What is going on in your business right now? What are you doing? Because we talked a lot about the leadership,
Mhm.
team culture. You went from flipping to wholesaling. You're doing a lot of things. You're in the masterminds, developing yourself.
Mhm.
What are the things that you did to put yourself in a position where you now have $1 million
Yeah,
in the bank?
I got Christina, who's um, partners with David Richter in Simple CFO. So Alex Wetland, who's in
Vegas.
in CG. I knew him years ago before CG. Me and
Okay.
him were like old school 8-9 years ago,
Mhm.
came up together. And I don't remember how I found out about Simple CFO or whatever it was, but yeah,
That's David
David Stat.
Richter.
Yeah,
So everyone
he's
that's listening, Simple CFO David Richter, profit first for real estate
yes. There we
investors.
go. There we go. Thank you, sir. Profit first for real estate investors. If you don't know finance, just call them and get it done, and they can send me their affiliate link money after.
No,
Yeah,
it's my show. It's my affiliate link.
yeah. I would do. I swear to God, I'm not, and I don't do that. Anyway, but that's funny. And the all right, what was the question? You distracted me.
$1 million in the bank. You said
Oh
Christina.
yeah. Okay, so because I came from the thing with Ray, right? I came from blue collar
Mm-hmm.
of a couple $1,000s in the bank, and you pay bills, and that's what you do, right?
Yeah.
In out,
Mhm.
right? And then Ray, who was in charge of the money,
Mm-hmm.
I tried to get Profit First in with him years ago, and he was like, "No." All right. So
Sounds like my first accountant.
yeah. So then I was like, okay, I got to find something to fill the gap with finance because like I understood hard money loans and all that stuff, but I didn't understand the finances of a company and a P&L and a balance sheet and all these different things that go in. So what that allowed me to do is they have first, I can't remember what the acronym stands for, but I got a PFARP sheet and I have allocations and budgets and yearly budgets. And I got a whole dashboard that I can see really easy how much runtime I have on my money, on reserves, and building reserve accounts, so that every dollar, the biggest thing I see it now as I'm starting to do a little bit more coaching and helping businesses. I was on the phone with a jujitsu guy today, actually asking me how to help his business, right? And different than the other guy. This is a good guy. All right.
I imagine.
All right. They don't understand that every dollar that comes in needs to be divided up, right? And it's easy to say, oh, yeah, profit first. Just open your 6 bank accounts, one for marketing, one for, I got to pay Joe, profit first. Like, I don't need to read the book. This is stupid. It's easy to understand.
Simple concept.
It's simple concept.
Execution is a different story.
Execution's a different story. And that's why Christina's still working with me, because I really good at ideas and concepts, and execution is that last 20% is where I struggle.
Right.
So like that piece of it, of knowing how to divide up that dollar, of every dollar that comes in, I feel way better about where my money is and what's coming in and projections, and every dollar that does come in still to this day. I have a little calculator that we set up at the beginning of the year based on all of the profit and loss from 2024 comes into 2025. We build the budget out, which then designates in the calculator where everything has to go from a standpoint of marketing, business, my partner buyout. I was 500 grand, 460-ish buyout. At 10K a month, so I have to allocate there. I have to allocate for myself. I have to allocate for the credit card, any credit stuff. Where I say reserves, operating account, and tax account, right? And everything that comes in, like people just generally speaking, I think a lot of people sub 10 million, maybe sub 5 million, don't get that concept. It's just run, outpace what make more than sales will solve all problems, right? Like that's the running mindset and that's what I had for a mindset.
Well, it's the hustle culture. Hustle, like, I mean, we all had it. We can get to where we are without it.
Yeah.
But we can't go any further until we lose that habit.
100%. That's what I was telling the guy today that I was talking with. I was like, listen, he's like, I don't like finance. I'm like, you sound just like me a few years ago. You know what I mean? I was like, if you want to be and you want to help more people and be a better martial artist and a better business owner, you have a responsibility to learn finance and a responsibility to learn. You don't have to be that. I'm not great, but at least I can have a conversation now and I can go to a bank and get whatever I want for money, you know,
financeable easily.
Yeah. Finance. There we go. That's the piece.
Yeah,
financeable.
I mean, one thing that Jason Medley says, he sounds like a broken record because he doesn't say that many different things.
Yeah.
But there's tremendous wisdom in it. And it's that, making money is a skill, keeping it is a discipline.
Yeah.
2 different skill sets.
100%.
Yeah.
And it was a big thing this year, 2024. I was supposed to be buying an apartment building with a CG person, and it was going to be some depreciation for me for 2024, and it was the last because 2024 was good. It was building, and I was like, okay, great. This was the last piece to it, and it fell out at the last minute. It came back with some issues that we didn't see. And I was like, oh. So I needed to buy a new truck. And I was like, all right, I'll buy a truck. My truck was 10 years old. I'm just one of those guys, right? I don't really care. And the truck, I went and drove a new truck. And for 75 grand, I was not impressed. And you're talking, the last truck I bought was 20, right?
Yeah.
So to go from that to 75 and blue collar, like all of this stuff says you can't, like, I can't.
You don't deserve it.
You don't deserve it, right? what I did deserve is a $130,000 truck. Come to find out. The truck that I really wanted was 130, and ended up getting it for 90. And through the business, all that, I wrote it off. But multiple people had to tell me it was okay, right? Because my mind is so on the allocations, and I take my family on vacations, make them Candy was like, Joe, you don't ever do anything for yourself. Like, you put money into the business, you take care of your employees, you take care of your family. Like, I thought she was going to give me grief about buying a truck. She's like, Joe, you bought me a new car last year. Like, you're driving a 10-year-old car, you know? And so like that mindset that you were saying with Jason Medley, and of being careful and having a good foundation, and Christina and CFO, like, just all of those things made it so that I could wire 90 grand over for a truck. You know, it's just crazy. Crazy. It's crazy. It's like, it's mind blowing to sit, you know?
So then would you say the biggest thing, then the biggest needle mover, on top of obviously having a great company culture, is that understanding your finances is what helped you be in position to have, again, $1 million in the bank? It's not the hustle, it's not the marketing strategy, it's not this particular tactic, it's not this particular exit or whatever. It's just, you know, your numbers, and you run your business based off those numbers.
100%. 100%. Everything we do is based off of that. I said 100%. That's like the two things that I told the guy today. He's a fighter, right? They're like, dude, these guys, they're not easy to get through. Like, real fighters, right? Like, he's in the cage, like, fight, and talking to him, and he's listening. He's open minded. He's listening to me because he respects me, and I respect him. And and those are the two things that it came back to. Was, I said, dude, it's culture, and I already know you. You may not have it documented, but you have a culture, right? The piece that you do need to get figured out is the finance piece of it, you know? And that's so many people that I talk to that are like, even people that want to do, like, that I want to do more deals with. Like, that's the piece that I can help with too, is like to be able to at least coach you and guide you on, like, here are the couple things that you at least read Profit First for Real Estate. Like, have an understanding of what a P&L is, right? It's I don't know. It should be. I wish they pump more of that in the world of entrepreneurship.
Yeah, I think so. It's not sexy. You know, Marcus Krigler is a friend of ours. And his biggest gripe all the time is like, no one takes that part seriously. And then we talked about it as far as the marketing message goes. He's like, hey, like, how can I get real estate investors to be more interested? And my thing to him was like, well, just promise them they can have as much money as they want.
Right.
Right. And he's like, well, that's like kind of like you just promise they can have as much money as they want.
Yeah.
But where I was going with that is that once you're financeable, then you really have access to as much capital as you need.
That's the game.
Right. And so if you're financeable, you have access to as much capital as you need, right? Well, the only way to be financeable is to actually have
100%.
A bank looks at your books. Okay, that guy's bankable or not, right? There's stories out here. I can't remember who brought it up. They're like, they had their loans called, and they're like, why are you calling my loans? Why are you closing my accounts? Like, you see what P&L, I'm making so much money. I have this much money in the bank with you. Why are you closing my accounts? And they're like, because we can see your runway. We can see, because at the rate you're growing, you're going to be out of money in 3 months. And we're going to protect ourselves for when you're out of money. It's like, how can I be running out of money? Like, I'm ultra profitable. They're like, yeah, we get the P&L part. You don't understand cash conversion cycles. You don't understand runways.
Right.
You're about to be bankrupt and you have no idea.
Yeah.
were closing your accounts.
100%.
That's real,
That's very real.
especially if you're flipping. Even harder if you're flipping.
Yeah, for sure. Like, and yeah, that, and I don't flip as much as we used to. Probably got 2 or 3 going right now,
Yeah.
all on the backside. Thank God Christina would be. Anytime I do a flip, Christina's always giving me grief, and she's like, because I'm just like, get it done. Like, I'm not great at staying in the rehab bumper.
You need a lot more bumper. You need a lot more buffer when you're flipping.
For sure. You know.
So looking right now with everything that's going, what would you do right now if money was no object?
Ooh, it's a serious question that that I'm trying to figure out, because money's not the object anymore.
Right.
I am bankable and financeable, and I walk into the bank, and the bank loves us, and they love my employees, right? And the relationships. You asked actually about CG. What has CG done for me? The relationships, right? Of like, I know we can go get anything done within like skyscraper type stuff, right? Anything reasonable.
1 or
for
2
us.
phone calls away.
Yeah, 1 or 2 phone calls away, right? Like, that opens up the sky, right? So there's a thing to go to Puerto Rico for 6 months out of the year. My son's almost out of school next year. 6% tax rate sounds really attractive.
It does.
So, and surfing, something I used to do, and jujitsu and yoga fit really well in Rincon, Puerto Rico, and having something there would be great. So there's that type of a thing that's going on. I've started to look at opening a fund, and but opening a fund for the business that I already do, not opening a fund for something I haven't done.
Yeah.
That would allow me to grow that more, and either maybe get more market share in where I'm already. Massachusetts, I don't have market share. I have a portion, but not nearly as much as some of the other guys do.
Yeah.
So I could grow that, and obviously that spins off some more. There's a rebrand that we're trying to get to happen right now inside the company. IPS Cash comes from, I was the inherited guy for a long time. So Inherited Property Solutions. When we went to TV, they were not happy with me with Inherited Property Solutions. We shortened it to IPS Cash. That really isn't a great name for a business that's buying houses. Okay. So there is a couple things I'm working on right now is the fund of looking and seeing, is that the thing, the Puerto Rico thing, and the residential assisted living type of a thing is all kind of there. There's this concept right now that I have in my mind where I don't like to take too much risk nowadays. Meaning, even when I left 10 years ago, I went into real estate, but I went after probate because I could see nobody was there. That's really, there's a whole portion that around probate that it's a whole other podcast. But where what do they call it, a charity? What's the word?
Foundation.
Yeah, foundation. We deal with it a lot in New Hampshire. In Nashville right now, I'd be surprised in a population of about 150 if there's a total of 20 houses for sale. Total. And most of them, of those 20, 10, maybe 10 will be under $500,000. I think last time I checked, truly is probably 2 houses were under $500,000 in Nashville. New Hampshire has a affordable housing crisis, hands down, like everywhere else, but there's bad.
That's bad.
It's really, really bad in New Hampshire. New Hampshire, we are the top. Manchester, New Hampshire is the top real estate market in the country.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and from a standpoint of like whatever those Zillow chats are right now, growth and whatever. Not like we beat San Diego or something like
Mm.
that. Like let me make sure I get that right before
Yeah.
people like Joe's an idiot. Think that I'm an idiot for different reasons, not because I said that. All right.
Yeah.
There's something that I'm toying with right now that I'm trying to move through the fun thing and this residential assisted living thing and some of this Puerto Rico stuff where I would like our marketing message to change,
Mhm.
where we're a nonprofit to a certain degree, and our home buying business is able to spin off cash that helps decrease the cost of living for seniors in residential assisted living facilities. Like, so there's like something going on there. There's like a bunch of different stuff. I know that's like so wishy-washy.
Have you met the Manships?
No.
Because they're in CG. They just recently joined from Indy. I had coffee with Evan Manship.
Okay. I've heard that name now that you say it, but I don't know them.
Yeah, that's what he's done. That's what they've done. He said that's the most fulfilling thing. Like they make so much money on the wholesale side. He spends all his time on the nonprofit side.
Interesting.
It's funds nonprofit side where they're helping distressed homeowners. What were they doing exactly? They give away houses. So they build houses, give them away.
Yeah. That's fits in my bucket of who I am as a person, who Candy is, where I'm at. I have everything. You would have asked me what now? What, I got another apartment building or a storage facility or whatever.
Yeah.
Like you would have asked me, I would have gave my right fucking arm to get where I am sitting with you at this table right now.
Right. Yeah.
18 years ago.
Yeah. No, and that's the thing, like I've said this before. That was someone else's podcast. It's like, it's hard for me to walk away from the things that I would dreaming to have at another point in my life. It's hard to give those things up, right? Like, and appreciate. It's really like important to appreciate what we have in front of us. What do you want to be remembered for?
I want to be remembered to be that guy that gave me everything he could. That like he helped me in my life, right? Like I'm doing it now. Like I don't have a bunch of, what's that question that people ask? They ask it in CG every now and again of like, who's your person or your idol that like influenced your life? Dude, I didn't have that. I didn't. My parents growing up, don't get me wrong, like my dad went to work every day, like put a roof over our head, all that stuff. But like there wasn't anybody in my life that, till my business partner, that stuck out an olive branch to me and was like, even though we divorced, he still was there every time that I called him, right? Like to be remembered as that guy that made a difference in my life, that he made a difference for me. That to me is just like, he made a difference and no one else gave a shit.
Yeah.
I
love that. What's your biggest struggle today?
Everything we just talked about to a certain degree, right? Like all of that of getting out of my own way right now. That's really what it is, right? It's, when you get to a certain point, I'm on that precipice again, right? Of like, I gotta jump again. And it's like going into that unknown, whatever it may be, of like, I gotta jump again. So that's like, I'm in the way. Like, I'm in the way,
It's funny because like, if you met me a couple of years ago, I would say like, people that talk like that are weak. I think mindset stuff for the weak. But I recognize that every single one of us has something in our way. It's us, but like we're doing something to get in our own way. Because if we weren't, there's no reason why we couldn't be, Elon Musk or Zuckerberg or Bezos, right? Or any of these other guys that have done it. They have problems too, but they don't have the things in their way that we have in our way. It took a lot to really open my eyes to that. What's your superpower?
Vision. which sounds cheesy because you visionary real estate, like everyone says it.
Yeah.
But I have truly done it. What'd you say? Kryptonite? What'd you say?
Yeah. Kryptonite. What's your superpower? Kryptonite.
Okay. No, kryptonite's the bad side.
Yeah.
Superpower, you said.
Yeah.
Okay. Because and he has done a superpower kryptonite exercise with me. So it's at least being able to have, so it is vision. It's being able to stay 10 steps ahead and being able to see and keep, it's being able 10 steps ahead. So I'm always looking and seeing and trying to move those pieces to be like, okay, what's coming down the pike? I'm very analytical. People, no, you're not. I'm like, actually, I am. You just don't know it because I don't talk to you about it.
Right.
But my mind is constantly looking and seeing and analyzing and seeing how Steve's sitting. He just crossed his arm. What's going on there? Is he actually like me? Like, what's the deal? What's he think about? Right.
Well, there's elements of pattern recognition, and then seeing the things happen before they happen. Yeah, it's funny because like I've had people call me calculating. Right? They're like, you knew this was gonna happen before it happened, or you're putting things in motion before. I was like, I can't be held responsible because I can see what's gonna happen well before you can see it's gonna happen.
Yeah,
it's not my fault.
Right?
It's not my problem. Like just because I can see it before you doesn't mean it's my fault that like these things are happening.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
And then what lesson did you learn? Which failure did you learn the most from? Hey, Disruptors, if you're struggling to scale your business due to a lack of capital for your deals, this message is for you. I've been part of the Collective Genius Mastermind for over 4 years now, and one of the biggest benefits I get as a member is access to 100% financing for fix and flips. If you're doing at least 10 deals a year, want to network with top-tier investors from across the country, and need access to 100% financing to continue scaling, go to 100percentmoney.com. I've had my friend and CEO of the Collective Genius, Jason Medley, put together a short video with all the details. That's at 100percentmoney.com. A whole different podcast.
That's a whole geez. Like, and there's so much there, right? You know what I mean? Like one lesson, I mean, is just the more, I mean, it's so cliche to say the more you fail, the more, fail forward, right? But it's true. And, working with your spouse full time, that's a beast of a thing that has really pushed me forward to be a better person. The business divorce, that was a business partner buyout. Like that was a big deal. Like that took me a year to get done. That was a 30-page document with attorneys involved and brain damage, right? Like, wasn't a failure, but it was, still got divorced. It was a failure to a degree. Going back, I mean, having a daughter that lives in California, that's still, I don't let it bother me every day, but that's still there. That's still, part of failure, no doubt, right? Real estate, there's not too many failures. I don't look at it as failure in real estate. It's just another, and I'm not taking big swinging risks right now either of going and buying a 50 unit that, I'm turning into a residential assisted living facility. And no
more big plays.
Yeah. I'm not taking those big, like I don't have that. I already don't sleep. Right. I already struggle with sleep. I don't want to go do those things. I'd be hedging and bringing other people to the table till I had that experience. I don't want to go massively fail again.
Yeah. So then what was the biggest lesson through all of those things? What's the biggest lesson?
Keep showing up. Right. There's a book called, you ever hear a book called Slight Edge?
Yeah. Brian Tracy.
I don't remember who wrote it, but I keep telling the employees to write it. And I go back to it. I've been preaching it quite a bit to them of I'm not necessarily great at anything, but getting up and going to work every day. And
that blue collar attitude gets you pretty far.
Does get you really far of just show up. Just show up. Just show up, whatever it is. Go to jujitsu, just show up. Don't want to go to jujitsu, just show up. Don't want to go to the office in the morning, just show up. Don't want to deal with your wife, just show up. You know, like just show up. And it's like that compounding effect is what he talks about. And then there's another book, The Flywheel Effect. It's in our circles.
Good to great.
Yes. And like all of a sudden, boom, like that flywheel falls over. It's like boom.
Yeah.
And it's like it's going. And now it's
because you showed up.
Because I showed up, right? And I just keep showing up. That could probably be a superpower in itself, right?
It absolutely is. It's there's a reason why Cal Ripken's in the Hall of Fame.
Right.
He showed up every day.
He showed up every day, you know?
Yeah. So what are some last thoughts you want to leave all the listeners?
I don't know. Like expand on that. Give me something. Where do you go with that question?
What's a message you think people need to hear right now?
Just show up for sure, right? Like it's okay to you don't have to be that like the message of, hey, you know, machinist to millionaire, right? Rah, right? It's okay. Like you look around and see and compare yourself, and I'm guilty of it in CG, right? You see these 20, 25-year-old fucking guys and they're killing it, and you're like, what the? And you know, like it, but then you come to find out everybody has their battles, and a lot of people's lives aren't always square, and they might be killing it financially, but maybe their marriage is a mess, maybe their health is a mess, maybe their emotions a mess, maybe they're drinking and drugging. So many times I see over and over and over that if you just keep doing the right next thing and you keep showing up in all aspects of your life, it's, to me, that's more important in being a good person and doing those things than it is to come and tell me how much you have and how many apartments you have. I really don't care, right? Like to me, I'd rather care that you actually invested across all of your life. Like I've just seen it over and over again. And in CG, it just is a reminder of it when I see different people that are, you know, chest pounding or whatever it is, right? Like, just showing up and being you and being authentic is undervalued, I think, sometimes in a lot of entrepreneur type settings. Is it's do more, be more, make more money. And all that, it's easy. And again, I've heard people say on the flip side, well, you got money. It's easy for you to say that now, right? It's okay to have a job and work and get financeable and bankable with a W-2 job and buy a couple rentals. That is okay, right? Like, that's fine. You're going to make it. You're going to have a good life. And you probably won't have as much headache as I do, right? Like, I think it's just undervalued in entrepreneurship, and it's just not talked about enough.
Yeah. That was, again, you know, different version of me 10 years ago. It's like, stop being a girl, stop being, you know, whatever, and like, quit your job and go do this. But now I'm imposing my values on somebody else, right? Like, people are happy living the lives that they live. Who am I to tell them to live differently?
100%.
Yeah. So again, someone wants to get a hold of you. What's the best way?
Yeah. Look me up on Facebook, Joe Theriault. That's one way. Just direct message me there. Direct message me on Instagram. I think my Candy will kill me that I gave my cell phone out on a podcast. So I'm not going to do that twice. But yeah, Facebook, you can if you're connected to anybody in real estate, you can find me on Facebook and Instagram.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Joe.
Brother, I appreciate you.
It's a pleasure.
All right.
You as well. Thank you guys for watching. See you guys next time.
Shout out to Steve Trang. Jump on the Steve Trang. Disruptors.